I was just mentioning about the Holy Grail Alliance, how we're trying to unite, or should I say reunite, the dragon families together, because they do carry and have been the guardians of some very special knowledge, dragon knowledge, if you will, and also what you would call Holy Grail wisdom, which is really one and the same with dragon wisdom. It's all about the power, the wisdom of the dragon, of the primal dragon, and so we're working to create an alliance that would include the IOGT, the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech, and the dragon families of Romania, which would be the Bathories and the Dracul Basarab families. Apparently the Bathories, we've heard recently, are on board, and but we're still trying to get the Dracul families to agree to the alliance. And anyway, I'm very excited about it. I imagine that you are too, Alfred. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention about this alliance?
Well, Mark, basically, the order where I am in charge, the Knight Templars of Solomon Hamelech, is a Grail Alliance for itself, because Knight Templars of Solomon Hamelech, or Knight Templars of King Solomon, has been established as an umbrella organization for all Templars from any dragon lineage. As you know, a spiritual sanctuary and a place of guidance for all those in any kind of need, but also connected to Templar tradition. Specifically for the Holy Grail Alliance, I'm pretty much sure that in near future, as far as I know now, this, I will not say organization, but this agreement will continue to grow. Certainly it will not stop with just 1, 2, or 3 separate organizations. Our idea is that finally we merge to one singular global organization. This is our desire, of course. It will depend how the dragon itself or dragon spirit will guide us. But
exactly.
At this moment, I am very happy that we have contact with your order of the Gnostic Templars. I will be happy personally to see more Scottish Templars, particularly Sinclair family, because of their own legacy. And you know, I was in the last few years occupied with the fact that many so far unknown people of legitimate and easily proven dragon lineage start to be visible for us. This course of events is stronger and stronger, and me and Nicholas de Vere, Prince and Sovereign of the Imperial and Royal Dragon Court from Wales, noticed that in last year there has been a tremendous increase of people who contacted us in order to join both the Knight Templars of Solomon Hamelech and the order, the court itself.
Right.
By surprise, most of these people are legitimate people with valid and true descent from the dragon gods.
Well, the founding, or perhaps I should say the revival of the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech corresponded to your meeting, Nicholas de Vere, I believe last year. So can you tell me what the reason is that you formed the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech, and perhaps what the history of this organization is?
Hmm. Well, as you know, but your listeners do not know, both families, De Weer and Krupa, descend from the common source. The Weer family is one of the so-called Merovingian king line in Europe. It is the oldest single name recorded family in Western Europe, 1,300 years old, descending from nobles from the province of Anjou in France. But especially Knights Templars of Solomon Hamelech, as you said, has been established in the last few months of 2009 as a spontaneous result of my meeting and everyday conversations with Prince Nicholas de Weer. It has been realized many important things in connection to Templars. Among them, one of the most important is that contemporary Templar globe is constituted of hundreds and hundreds of different Templar organizations, smaller or bigger, Christian, pagan, or Masonic, and that in good part of them there is no real knowledge. When I say no real knowledge, we don't think on knowledge that you can read and remember from books, because if that will be knowledge, then everyone can be scholar. We mean particularly from knowledge that comes from the blood, from the genetic memory of the Dragon Alliance. So, majority of those organizations, by our opinion, only following some basic Catholic lies in lesser or greater extent. It has been also noted that so far, by our knowledge, of course, no direct descent of original priests of the Temple of Jerusalem are running any or most of the known Templar orders, which is a very important element, because we know that all involved in establishment of medieval order was descent of the original priests of the Temple of Jerusalem, so-called Rex Deus families. We claim or believe, but I would say that we know, that the other world of gods, particularly of the most known, Enki and Enlil, and all others known and are known to us from time to time in a way that we cannot predict or control normally, are speaking to other human beings, to our DNA, and navigate our life actions. As for Levites, if somebody asks me who are Levites, I will say that if we follow ideas from today known scriptures, we can understand that they stem or originate from the very same royal and holy genetic pool like early Hebrew kings, created by elder god Enki and chosen for holy priesthood by Enlil once after he won position of God of gods. So we can say in one word that this is a completely new organization, and it is also a revival of once what was part of our family, both family heritage of families De Weer and Krupa.
So would you say that the original knights of Solomon's Temple were the Levite priests? Would you say that?
Original Knights was in charge for security of the Temple of Solomon. You know that in certain parts of the temple, entrance was not allowed only to the chosen priesthood, Kohanim and Levites. And as far as I know, those people who organized medieval Templars descended from original priests of the Temple in Jerusalem.
So, So basically, your family is directly descended from the Levite priesthood, so I mean, from the very beginning, or of your lineage, you've always had a connection to Solomon's temple. It sounds like.
Exactly. You know, to support that claim, I can say that my family undertakes a very extensive genetic test, which is now more in popular situation worldwide. And number of families with Levite tradition, over 16 families, and 4 families of high priests has been discovered in our family tree. More close or more related, or more distantly related, but all those families are in my male lineage. So I have been, as you know, Mark, I have been the person who brought Templars after 900 years again to Balkans, to Croatia, Slovenia, and other surrounding countries. First, as military commander of Rana. Rana is one of the historical preceptories on the coast of the Adriatic Sea in Croatia. Later, as the Grand Prior for Croatia. In the time when I didn't know my test results. So, in the time when I had been the first Templar of this Balkan Peninsula, I didn't know my Levite heritage. So, as I have discussed that later with other dragons, it clearly shows that blood right is the strongest law. And if you have such code in your blood, no matter what happens in your life purpose will find a way to show to show in your life. You know, if you are meant to be a sort of leader in any field, we can now say in spiritual leadership, then this knowledge will find a way to present itself. This is what I have spoken earlier. This we can call acknowledge.
So obviously, what you're trying to do, what we're trying to do in the IOGT is, of course, the same. We're trying to help people to open up their Gnostic wisdom, which is the wisdom of the dragon. Well, that's what it's all about right now, for people to get in touch with that inner guidance, that inner dragon wisdom. Let me ask you, as a dragon family, obviously you have a lot of dragon knowledge, a lot of dragon wisdom. Did some of this dragon wisdom get passed to you through your Levite lineage? Did it come from the Levite priesthood?
Well, you know, originally my line is not from Israel. It's not Israelite line. It is Central Asian line. And if we go enough deep in history, we will see that when I say we, I mean the other people from the Imperial and Dragon Court from my line, we all find our deepest roots in myth, in mystics of the Central Asia. I feel, this is my personal feeling, that most of the inner power comes from that direction. Because, as I spoke with one of my shaman friends, it has been said that certain gift, or they will say inner fire or inner ability, has been given by God to a certain line, and that ability or knowledge will survive in male or female line indefinitely. But it is surely not visible in every generation. Sometimes it is buried for centuries in one line when, again, by my belief, when time comes, this knowledge or this identity is revealed. Yes, particularly for the lyrics. Yes, it seems that in the last 1,000 years there has been very often and very significant intermarriages with a lot of Levites and Kohanim families. So, as you know, that those people served for at least 3,000 years as holy priesthood, I cannot ignore the fact that they are so much conditioned in that way, and that genetic memory is of such importance and of such strength that it survived all these years, and finally it became visible in my generation. To be correct, in my father's generation, because I am the second in my family who started to be, let's say, a magician.
Well, I know that your family, your ancestors spent a long time in Central Asia. Asia is part of the Khazar civilization there, and which was also the area of the Scythians. And I know that the De Veers and certain members of the Dragon Court claim to be descended directly from the Scythians, and that a lot of their dragon wisdom comes from the Scythians. Would you say that's the same for you?
Yes, you know, Khazars, as you mentioned it, was the only people present in Eastern Europe and Western Asia with so-called imperial pedigree, with imperial legacy that has been withdrawn from the ancient Ashina royal clan of ancient Turks and Huns and Scythians. They ruled with over 25 nations and tribes. With those people was without the same imperial pedigree and so-called mandate of heaven. For some 500 years, they have been the ultimate or superior force in Eastern Europe, eastern areas of Europe. That means Ukraine, South Russia, and other countries. Actually, it was the very first feudal state of Europe. They believed that they are carriers, as I said previously, of Utka, the unifier, which is transmitted in male or female line. The very blood of Ashina tribe was considered as sacred, and it was not allowed to shed the sacred blood at any condition. Therefore, there was pretty much inventive solution for that issue. This is interesting story. Boiling in hot water or murder with a silk cord. Dragon is one of the most common images in the Khazarian artifacts. Khazaria was almost absolute secret for 1,000 of years. Existence of it was almost deleted from known history. Also, it was the most tolerant.
Are you there? Alfred, are you there? Well, it appears as though we've lost Alfred again. I guess we'll try to ring him up again and get him back on. In the meantime, I did want to mention that the Scythians do seem to be at the root of many of the dragon families, and we're doing research right now within the Royal Imperial and Royal Dragon Court to kind of figure out what that connection is all about. How does that connect us to the dragons, to the dragon wisdom, the dragon heritage, and to the court of Lucifer? Apparently, it appears as though the Scythians may have originated possibly in India or around the Hindu Kush, and possibly even in association with what's now known as Mount Kailas. If you look back into the Puranas, the Indian legends, you find that there was a great landmass known as Saka Dvipa, and this is what the Scythians were originally known as the Sakas, and the Saka Dvipa actually encompassed Mount Kailas. So what you might know, those of you that have studied Indian mythology and Mount Kailas, is it's the home of Shiva, when Shiva is actually the eastern manifestation of what became Lucifer, or the devil in the west. He's the one with the trident and the necklace of serpents, necklace of skulls, and also the Lord of Fire and the Lord of the Underworld. It appears as though he was definitely one influence that contributed to the form of what we know as the devil today, when he was brought west by the Gypsies, also known as the Romanis, who came from India. And so the seat of the royal dynasties of the Dragon Kings that descended from the Scythians may be right there at Mount Kailas. That might be the royal seat of the greatest of the dragons. Shiva himself was sitting atop of Mount Kailas today. A lot more research is required. However, certain DNA research has shown that there is a DNA link that the De Beers and some of the dragon families have to the population living in the Hindu Kush and perhaps even to the east of that. So there could be something to that, but it definitely requires more research. I think Freddie, are you there? Are you back yet?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, sorry we keep losing you. But anyway, I'm glad you're back again. And I was just talking about the ancient Scythian heritage, and how a lot of historians are actually tracing it as far back as India, and even possibly the Hindu Kush, and possibly even Mount Kailas, which is the home of Lord Shiva, who might be the primal dragon king himself, the primal Lucifer. Certainly his image of the trident carrying fire god, Lord of the Underworld, contributed to our depiction of Lucifer, the devil in the West. So this is actually some research I'm working with Nicholas on right now to really discover the roots of these dragon lineages, how they do connect back to the dragon kings and to Lucifer himself. So it's actually some interesting research, and it's a lot of fun to try to figure it out. But I'm sure, as you know, that there has been some DNA research done, and the De Beers and some of the dragon families have been shown to have the same DNA as the people of the Hindu Kush. So it appears as though that it's pretty conclusive that our lineage extends back at least that far east, and possibly even further. So there's a lot more research to be done, and I'll be counting on people like yourself to help me with it, because it's a lot of work to really confirm that we did in fact come from the Far East.
Well, Mark,
yes.
Regarding the origin from Shiva, I can say, while I have studied my own line of the Turkic Ashina royals, they used as main seal a trident. Trident was also a seal of all Indian Kushan Empire rulers. And those Indian Kushan rulers was of Turkic stock people from Siberia or from Central Asia. So now on this level of pictorial representation, we have continuous line for at least 2,300 years, again from southern Central Asia. You know that in the very same place, bone region has been founded. So I say that all this mountain chain of Karakorum, Hindu Kush, Pamir, Altai are very important place for the origin of the dragons. I have been studied also, from my point of view, origin of the dragons in Asia, and as I have discussed with my cousin Nikos, there is a certain pattern, certain similarities in all those stories. In all those stories, there was one very brave soldier or archer who fell in love with a wolf or a sea goddess or a season goddess, and that was somewhere nearby some cave, which means that there was feminine divine, the feminine goddess who give a birth to a male, and that first boy was the first king or the first shaman. So all what I have found in my records, it seems that this first goddess of all these roles in Asia is Queen Lilith, the first, Lilith of the Ben Sirach Jewish text, or the red-haired queen of the north. This is my conclusion, or very, very known and very popular goddess of Ishtar. So we can say that Asian dragons also possess a bloodline of Enlil, you know, the dragon of darkness, not only the line of Enki, because all these names are actually granddaughters of Enlil. In terms of genetic, I believe that you have spoken earlier while I was away, I have researched and established that my family and the Weir family are connected with, as some will say, karmic link and genetic memory. We represent two branches of the Aryan races. Those branches can be very loosely called as European and Asiatic American. I will explain why American later. In genetic terms, we represent two haplogroups. To say, for those who don't know, haplogroups are branches on human male genetic tree. They represent mutations on male chromosome, which is in every generation naturally cloned. So it means that you, Mark, have the same genetic as your first male ancestor, at least in a part. So to continue, we represent two haplogroups, R and Q. Nicholas de Weir haplogroup group is R and mine is Q. On phylogenetic tree of humans, we both descend from older haplogroup P. And that is what is our difference from all other haplogroups or all other branches of human genetic tree, because only those two haplogroups possess this P mutation. It is believed that P mutation occurred in area of Hindu Kush mountains of Central Asia, and that can be surely related with story of God King Nephilim, Yesudra, or Jewish Noah, escaped in time of Great Flood. But as you said, and I agree with that, this is a matter of further scientific research. So in male line, we descend from long line of gods, God kings, or semi-gods, plus sacred maternal elements inherited through thousands of years of our lineage survival on this planet. Because in our family trees, we have discovered many important intermarriages with other royal houses of China, of Byzance, and Southern Asian less known houses. It is said that early primal influences are the strongest information of any being. And that is why these early periods of our universe are still very important. That means that impressions that have been given to our original ancestors, we still carry unchanged in our blood. Merovingian kings of the world, like all Turkic shamans of Krupa, claimed that nothing can elevate or ruin their blood, meaning that term often used as diluted blood is nonsense, at least in a good part of that word. The gift, again, the gift of inner fire, or whatever you want to call certain gifts that are always present in the dragon blood, is flowing constantly along the line, sometimes visible, sometimes buried, as I said earlier, also for generations. I would like now to clarify why I have said Asiatic American, because the red people of Americas are actually Aryans. They are not red, they are actually white. They became red later in new conditions that has been present in Americas, where they arrived some 17,000 years ago through Bering Passage. That is also why the many important kingdoms occurred in Central Asia and in Central America, and South America, because they carried their genetic knowledge, which can be also seen, just for one tiny example, in Bolivia, where shamans claim that the serpent created the world. That original God who created the world is a serpent, which is directly confirmation that genetic knowledge was able to survive all obstacles that these people faced in new homeland.
Yes, actually, I've studied some of the more ancient history of some of the Native American tribes, and some actually do contend that they were descended from a fair-skinned race of giants, is what they say. Mm-hmm. So it does seem to be something to what you're saying.
Well, exactly. It is obvious that not all future Indians of Americas was of the circle who possessed the knowledge. It is obvious because you have in both Americas you have points of civilization, but generally speaking, very roughly, we can say that Central America was the place of the highest concentration of the people of the dragon lineage.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can't argue with that if you've traveled down to Mexico and Central America and you find yourself surrounded with serpent and reptilian and dragon imagery every place you go.
Yes,
can't argue.
Sorry, Mark. I just saw one TV show who reminded me on what Nicholas DeVere wrote it in the Dragon Legacy about the Elven Holocaust. It was said that with arrival of Spanish Catholics in Mexico, at the moment of their arrival, there had been over 25 million people present. 1 century later, there was not even 1 million alive. So this is a moment of some further discussion of that there is, how to say in English, that there is.
Well, many of us branches of the dragon culture have been under attack for many years, and certainly one of them has been the Yezitis, which we in the IOGT are trying to save now, who have been under attack because Muslims claim that their deity, Tausi Malek, the peacock angel, is Satan. And so they feel like it's their religious duty to wipe out the Yazidis. So, many of us with this dragon wisdom have been under attack for a long time, which is one reason that I believe now it is so important for us to come together, to unite, to affiliate, so that we can protect each other and we can take care of each other now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mark, we have visited my cousin Nicholas in Wales in the February of this year with my father and other Croatian Templars. And it is pretty much clearly realized that the so-called great dragon spirit has been visible in all places of this planet. My father is the one with a gift of lucid dreaming, and one of these dreams some 2 years ago showed him that the great dragon is awakening again from the earth. This means that the knowledge that the mass hypnosis that has been placed upon the human beings starts to crack all over the place. And I don't think that in the future years it will be possible to bury once more all this knowledge that comes out. It is not just now that we see people of the dragon origin. It was not possible before some 20 or 30 years. All these things that we do now, it was not possible. But now the spirit has been awakened. Also, perhaps this is subject interesting for me, but I believe that also it will be interesting for your listeners. As I said, and as Nick DeVere confirmed to me, Balkan was always a very important part of the world for dragons. It has been discovered and now confirmed that so-called Bosnian pyramids are the oldest and the largest pyramids in the world, with calculations between 12,000 and 27,000 years old. It has been discovered that the cement, between the stones, the rocks, is of the same chemical composition like the one found in Egypt. And that has been confirmed by the top Egyptian archaeologists, sorry for my English. But this pyramid is far more different than other pyramids because it is consisted of a complex of several pyramids that are physically connected, and below the greatest pyramid of the sun is the largest tunnel complex in the world. Also, it has been discovered that was proven by scientific research. On the peak, on the top of this pyramid, certain type of ultrasound has been constantly in emission. So I want to say that this knowledge also was not given to us in few years. Also, I believe you know that in Siberia and Altai Mountains, small step pyramids also have been found. Plus on other places like Mauritius, like other islands in Atlantic, and so on and so on. So, as I said, the gathering of the people of the dragon descent is ongoing situation, and there is nothing that can stop the final outcome of this, I don't say procedure, but of these events. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Mark.
I would like to just clarify for some of the people in the audience that might be listening to this show now. When we do say the dragon, of course, we're also saying the goddess, and I think that it's very clear that the goddess is reawakening around the world. She's awakening within us is love, is more emotion, more intuition. And she's awakening in the world as people connecting, coming back together. It's always the God, the male, that divides, and it's always the female, the goddess, that brings us back together again. And as the dragoness, she's doing that now, and she's revealing herself and her tradition, which is the dragon tradition, and she's doing that by revealing a lot of these pyramids and a lot of her mysteries that up until now have been hidden, been secretive. And what she's doing, she's also working within many of us now to bring us together. As Alfred was saying, so many people are feeling the draw to the Imperial and Royal Dragon Court. They're feeling that call to step forward and get involved now. Well, this is the goddess, the dragoness goddess, working within them to bring us together. Those of us that have been part of the ancient dragon wisdom, now we're coming together, not just as the Royal Dragon Court, but in many ways, in many forms around the planet. And so it's a very, very exciting time, and I think you'll agree with that, Alfred. It is a very exciting time, and it's interesting that you brought up the Bosnia Pyramids, because I'll be speaking at a conference in Arkansas in October where the discoverer of those pyramids will be making a presentation. So I'm looking forward to that, to really making that connection to him and to learning more about these pyramids. But it's certainly a testimony that the dragon knowledge was in your area where you live now, and it was there in a very big way in the ancient past.
Well, Mark, it is also important to say that dragons are meant to serve the rest of the human population. And this sense of duty and responsibility is something also that comes out with the dragon blood. It is not the terror and greed and everything what holds grip over the most of the population on Earth. We are something, yes, not somebody. We are all something that oppose to the idea of the world tyranny and domination and absolute control. It is not by our wish, but we are meant to be like that. And I met some people a few years ago who also spoken to me when I had discovered my Jewish line, that the Holocaust, on spiritual level, the idea behind that was to destroy as much as possible descent of the Khazar dragons. Obviously, because the majority of them lived for 1,000 years in Ukraine and eastern Poland and southern Russia. And, I have also witnessed that many people who I met of the dragon line suffered a lot of, at least financial problems in their lives, because they was not able to adapt themselves on the requirements of the current, of the current spirit on the planet. So I believe also one thing, that the sort of conflict between the corpus of the dragon descent and the rest of the carriers of the wish to hold people in the darkness will come upon us. As you know, we in the Dragon Imperial Court possess a number of revelations and prophecies from various sources and various generations, young people, older people. And if you put all these prophecies on table, you can find certain similarities that they are so obvious that certainly that cannot be a mistake. I personally, in my family, we have experienced what happened when you have a different point of view on even everyday and practical situations in life. You have been, or you will be, if you stood against any malicious attempts. You will be, at least, if not destroyed, you will be prosecuted by the majority who do not understand your point of view. And that is why some people say that dragons carry some secrets and mysteries. As I and Nick, my good cousin and friend, as we have discussed, there is no secrets and mysteries among the dragons. Because secrets and mysteries occurs in the time when your ability to understand is limited, and your own limitation creates effect of that something is hidden. Nothing is hidden. Everything is shown and visible. Only our abilities to understand and to see are limited. So no matter how long we can explain and elaborate what we do and what is going on the planet, most of the people, I'm sure, will not understand what is going on. I'm saying this that all these who are not of the dragon bloodlines, they want to be, they must understand that our privilege also carry certain elements of service, of total commitment to service, and of responsibility to stick with the most deepest spirit in our DNA, and that is of the dragon spirit.
Well, I think that most people have to agree that there has been persecutions. The dragon families, those of the dragon heritage, have been persecuted, and it continues, and it probably will continue for some time to come, which I believe is one reason that you formed the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech was to protect the dragon families, isn't it?
Right. As I said, it was meant to be a sort of overall Templar organization. That means not above other Templar organizations, but those kind of organization that everyone of the dragon line and not dragon line, but friends of the dragon lines can join us. That is also one of the reasons, as we have spoke earlier by email, that is why we do not perform any sort of rituals or ceremonies. We must be acceptable for everyone. Also, we must respect other people's need or wish or I don't know, for any sort or of rituals as a way how to transmit certain knowledge or certain wisdom. We deeply respect that, but in the Knights Templars of Solomon Hamelech, we have decided not to practice any of these things as a principle. The second thing is my own Nicolas Devere personal experience that if you conduct certain types of ceremonies or rituals, that is not good for that person or for me. I can say that, but that is my experience, of course, that whenever I have executed certain type of ritual upon a person who requested from me without proving who that person is and what he or she is capable, that turned it against me because that person starts to suffer for many forms of self-delusion and actually once healthy person starts to be I will not say a lunatic, but with not clear view on a world and actions in the world. So as my personal wish, I have stopped to execute any sort of of rituals. But, as I said, in the Knight companion of the temple structure, everyone can join, no matter of financial or social status, no matter of income, religion, or race or nation, because that is level of friends. In Knight seneschal of the temple, which is actually Knight servants, structure can join only those of registered and proven dragon lineage in the family tree. Seneschals of the imperial and royal dragon court under Nicholas de Vere are automatically seneschals of the order of the Temple of Jerusalem. But order of the temple can be seen as aspects of the court, particularly as political and military aspects of the court. But it is not the same thing. I run the order, and my cousin Nick is in the charge for the court. When you decide to join, and we confirm that, you are automatically initiated and involved in our energetic, psychological, and spiritual circle. Your benefit from that really only depends on you and your blood. Nobody can predict how much and how deep that benefit for you will be. Therefore, we do not need actually to meet each other, as we, on this level, are pretty much successful wherever we are. It works. And this is only initiation. When I say initiation, it is initiation because our will is manifested. Of course, I must allow special and rare situations when and if such circumstances occur to run and execute certain practices that can be loosely called a ritual, and that practices is almost surely related to usage of dragon body fluids. On a common level, as knights, we simply repeat elsewhere spoken and previously spoken truth about all malicious impacts that has been done to humanity by humans and through invented religions, mostly Abrahamic religions. We believe that, if I can say these words, that these historical criminals has not been yet convicted and not abolished in the eyes of the millions or hundreds of millions of the people. This is our knightly or our chivalric aspect. But to underline, we do not have any dogma, any teaching or doctrine of our own. Searching for the truth within the order is only the dogmatic thing. And we allow to our members and to ourselves that according to relevant findings and discoveries, we change our opinions and positions through the course of time.
So for those of you that may have been late in coming onto the show, we've been talking with the Grand Master of the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech, and one of our goals with the IOGT that I'm the Grand Prior of is to create a Holy Grail alliance with the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech. And within that framework, within that alliance, the Knights Templar of Solomon Hamelech will be guardians of the dragon wisdom and the dragon families who carry this wisdom. The IOGT will be teaching the dragon wisdom and also some of the dragon rites, dragon practices, if you will, which are primarily alchemical practices to open you up to the dragon wisdom. And we're yet to really find out or to know what contribution that the Dracul families, they're the third part of this trinity of alliance, what part they're going to play exactly within this alliance. But as it evolves, as we know, we'll let you know exactly how that's going to play out. One thing I have heard recently, Freddie, which is interesting, is that a lot of the dragon families are now coming together, apparently to collaborate on a a film for HBO that accurately depicts the true nature of the dragons and Dracula and so forth, to actually make a film that's really accurate and not just based primarily on fantasy. And so that's pretty exciting to really put the truth about us dragons out there into the world now.
Yes, that is what I have meant also when I have mentioned that the great dragon spirit is arising. It seems that now the time has come that is allowed to us finally to say the truth, to ruin false idols, mystifications, hardcore lies that have been placed among nations. And the film is the most popular media, of course. We believe that this is just the beginning of a serial of the films for amusement, films for documentary purposes, everything in following idea of spreading knowledge, who we are, what is our purpose, and what we are meant to be among the people. As we have discussed earlier, we are not above the people. We are somehow placed aside of the people, if you know what I mean. We should never place ourselves above other humans. People must understand that the kingdoms of the dragons and kingdoms of the false aristocracy that has been implemented by the followers of the Abrahamic faith are totally different things. That values that have been followed and the spirits that have been living in those kingdoms are two opposite things. So now I remember one thing when you have asked me about the history and the meaning of the Knight Templars of the Solomon HaMelech. If you look on the internet, you will notice a few places where the Imperial and Royal Dragon Court and the Sovereign Grand Duchy of Drakenberg is listed as a part of the world government. There is actually a few schematic maps. Clearly, from the point of monetary, political, and military influence, that is nonsense, because we don't have and we don't seek for any of these things. But as top roles and one of the top spiritual organizations in the world, this is definitely correct inclusion. Now, as the Knight Templars of Solomon HaMelech are a part or the aspects of the court and actually established by the two heads of the court, we can say that Knight Templars of Solomon HaMelech are part of the same world government. This was something that was, now I'm repeating that for the third time in the show, to underline the fact that tremendous changes are happening right now. This was not possible some 10 years ago, that some draconian organization started to be considered by the, for example, University of Heidelberg as part of the most important organizations in the world. This is the fact now. A lot of people look upon us in this way, and that means that hypnosis that has been hardwired into people start to collapse, and soon we will see a jump in realization among people who they are, who we are, and what is the right course for this world.
Well, thank you so much, Freddie, and I would also corroborate with you that the old idea of dragons as monsters and demons as evil It's not true. Certainly not true today among the dragon families. We're here to serve, and that's our primary motivation for pretty much everything we're doing to revive the ancient dragon wisdom, so that everybody can benefit. That the dragon wisdom is your wisdom. We're helping you to find your own wisdom right inside yourself, your own gnosis, and it's. Right. And that's self-knowledge, and that's what we're here to do is know ourselves, know thyself. That's the dragon wisdom, and that's what the dragon has been teaching all of us since the very beginning. And now, right. And our only hope for all of you is to get to know that knowledge within yourself, to truly know yourself as the divine spirit incarnate in a physical body. So go ahead, Freddy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Your order of the Gnostic Templars, we have seen him in the part of the Holy Grail Alliance as those people and those organizations who will be responsible for execution of the ritual ceremonies, and as a depository of the knowledge about historical rituals that has been practiced among our ancestors.
Well, thank you very much, Freddie. It's a pleasure to have you on. Always a pleasure to speak to a dragon spirit, as you obviously are, and I really look forward to working.